What's going on, people? Welcome to the opposition preview. I'm joined by Dave here from the Talking Wolves channel to look ahead to the game on the weekend. As always, make sure to check out the Talking Wolves channel. The link will be in the description down below. And if you do enjoy the content, hit the like button and subscribe to not miss out on future videos. Dave, always a pleasure talking to you, bro. Palace and Wolves pretty much always on a similar level when you're looking at the league table. However, we're pretty similar in bad circumstances right now, near the bottom of the table. But for you, what's been going on at Wolves right now? Because, I mean, you look at this season, yes, it hasn't been great. You haven't won a single game. However, it's continuing on from last season. Is that concerning for you now?
Yeah, it's a massive concern. It's funny, sort of, after, I think you always go into the summer and think almost like, oh, thank God that's over. And then sort of you try and remind yourself that, or try and almost convince yourself that it's not going to carry on into the next season. But unfortunately for Wolves, it has. I felt, and I'm sure a lot of people outside looking in, Palace fans watching this video included, probably look at that Wolves team and think, why are they in this position? Because genuinely, with personnel, I think we've got a very good squad. I think we've had a very tough start on paper. We've already played pretty much all bar one team in the current top 8. Although in some of those matches, the performances have still been concerning. We've had close games with the likes of City and so on. But like the Chelsea result, which me and you spoke about previously as well, fantastic for 45 minutes and then just a non-league-esque performance in the second half. The Brentford result where we lost, 5 or 6-3. It's just not acceptable, really. So certainly there's a hell of a lot of work for Wolves to do. There is a massive concern. I think Gary O'Neill's job now is dependent on this week against Palace, and then we play Southampton, who are also winless next week. I think I have a big feeling that if you guys do beat us Saturday, he'll be gone. But ultimately, as nice as Gary O'Neill is, as well as he did at the start of last season, if we don't beat you, it'll be 1 win in 20 in the league. And that's just unacceptable, really, for any manager at any level in football.
Yeah, that's sorry to say, but even at Palace, for example, we didn't win 8 games, and that's pretty much relegation form as it continues. But 1 in 20 would be absolutely crazy. That's much worse than our situation, and even we were thinking about it. But what's gone wrong, do you reckon, then, with Gary O'Neill? Is it the players? Is it his system? Has it been found out? It's a bit confusing because when I watch Wolves, you got good players, Cunha, Strand Larson. You got players who can attack and score goals, but defensively, it's just not working out. I mean, how many goals have we conceded so far this season?
We've conceded the most, I think, in the league. But saying that, the opposite side of things, in terms of goal scoring, we're actually doing okay. There's not many teams in the bottom half, even in the top half, that have scored as many, if not more, goals than Wolves. But defensively, we have certainly been the worst. Set pieces was a big issue. We're conceding daft goals off set pieces. Defensively, we're just atrocious. That seems to have picked up a little bit in the last couple of games. We played like a pretty flat back 5 against City and really frustrated them. And to be honest, really unlucky not to come away with anything from that game. Last week against Brighton, it was almost like a hybrid. He started on paper probably a back 5, but Ryan Aitnor, played a lot further up, so it's pretty much a back 4. He's really not just Gary O'Neill, though. There's a lot of managers almost try to shoehorn a back 4 into this small squad. Ever since Nuno had real success with a back 5 at Wolves, got us into Europe, back-to-back 7th place finishes. Even he tried a back 4 and it didn't really work out. Bruno Lage came in and sort of realised the personnel wasn't there, so stuck with a back 5, did really, really well with a back 5. He tried to go with a back 4 and failed. Lopetegui had mixed success with a back 4, but even he tried a back 5 at times. And again, Gary O'Neill, back 5 last season, did okay until we had injuries. And then for some reason this year, forcing us back to a back 4, which hasn't gone well. So defensively, we've been atrocious. Obviously, we lost Kilman, who I think we got a good fee for, don't get me wrong, with Max Kilman. But in terms of availability, 100% availability, played every minute for us last season. Already this season, Craig Dawson's had injuries, Totti's had injuries, Mosquera's got a long-term injury. With injuries and suspensions, stuff like that is a little bit frustrating. Has to get it right defensively, Gary O'Neill, because we're putting the ball in the back of the net down the other end, but we're just not keeping them out at the moment. Obviously, the whole Sam Johnston situation as well. We signed him from you guys, £10 million. But I think the club dealt with that so badly because we still had Jose Sarr, who look, he wasn't great for us. Don't get me wrong, but ultimately, I think there's not a huge amount of difference between Jose Sarr and Sam Johnston in terms of goalkeeping quality. And I think to spend 10 million on Johnston while Sarr was still at the club made no sense, and Sarr still didn't leave. I think Wolves probably half expected a Saudi team to come in and take him, and that was the situation. Johnston's been injured the last 2 weeks. Sarr's actually played okay, although Sarr gave away a goal last week. But I still think in the back of my mind, Sam Johnston is Gary O'Neill's number one, so I'd half expect him to come straight back in. But even he's not been brilliant, to be honest, the last week.
So about Sam Johnston, just I've watched a few games, so there are a bit of spoiler alerts. But distribution, is that a concern for him or no? Is it be fine?
It's okay. It's not. It's SARS is the worst. SARS in terms of distribution, SARS is worse than Johnston's, I think. But saying that, I think Jose Sarr in City's distribution improved a lot. That was the main issue. We moved Jose Sarr on to get a goalkeeper distribution, and I remember you did a clip for us and sort of said that it's a little bit, it's not brilliant, and all the Wolves fans were like, well, what, why are we bringing him in then? So I think he's a little bit calmer on the ball. I'm not saying his pass accuracy or anything's brilliant, but he's a lot calmer on the ball than Sarr. But in terms of shot stopping and basic shot stopping, he's not been brilliant either, Johnston.
Has it not? Okay. Yeah. His distribution's been like, for us, his shot stopping was good. There was no problems with that. It's just his distribution. I don't know his numbers at Wolves, but it was a concern. And we decided, as soon as we bought Dean Henderson, we kind of made our decision there. You can't really have two number ones at your football club. So it's a bit confusing why you bought, Sam Johnston. I still have Jose Sarr there because Jose Sarr is going to be upset, and Sam Johnston would be upset if he's not playing because he just left Palace to play first in football. He's not going Wolves to sit on the bench. So yeah, I forgot about that, but I'm pretty sure he'll give his best goal best goalie impression for us in Premier League. He'll be man of the match. He'll be goalie of the week. He'll do everything. He'll do everything to stop us. But in terms of players, who's been the one player that stood out for you, despite your run of form, if any? Because if you haven't won a single game, then I'm not expecting 11 players to be listed there. But then again, there might be the one player who's been carrying you. For me, from the outside looking in, when I have watched Wolves, Cunha's looked very good, but of course, better than me. Anyone else?
Yeah, Cunha's always pleasing on the eye. I think Cunha sometimes it just clicks and falls into place for him, and he's like unplayable. But other times you can see almost he's trying a bit too hard. I think he likes almost at times to try and carry the weight of the team on his shoulders, and sometimes that'll work great, and other times it doesn't. Strand Larsen, the new striker, play very agile for such a big guy. To be fair, he's like 6'5", 6'6". Helped with the goals, got 5 or 6 goal contributions already. And Aït-Nouri as well has kicked on with his goal contributions. I have no doubt he'll start on Saturday, whether that's at left back or a bit further up. But, grabbed another goal against Brighton, scored a couple of goals already this season, which was probably the one thing in his game that was missing, really, goal contributions, and he's adding those as well. So I'd say those three, really. The midfield's been a bit underwhelming. This time last year, I was raving about João Gomez and Mario Lemina. Andre's come in, showing glimpses of what he's good at, struggled at other times as well. But ultimately, I just don't think Gary O'Neil knows his best 11. And, players like Sarabia, who barely had a kick this season, came on against Brighton. Tommy Doyle barely had a kick, start against Brighton, and they almost changed the game, both of those. So I couldn't tell you who the starting 11 for Saturday because I genuinely don't know. Obviously, I don't see what happens every day in training, but I don't know what Gary O'Neil's thinking. But ultimately, in terms of form as well, probably our most reputable players are the players out of form. So is it time to shake things up? Because for the sake of Gary O'Neil, he needs a result here. So I'd be very intrigued to see how he sets up against Palace on Saturday.
Is that not concerning? The fact that, well, Glasner, I'm not putting any excuses, but he joined towards the end of last season. Then, of course, we lost Elise, who's a key player, then brought in new signings towards the end. They, you would maybe shuffle it up at the start because you're, bedding in new players. But with Gary O'Neil, I know you've sold, Pedro Neto and Kilman as well, two key players like Palace, but he's been there last season, so he knows three of these players a bit better than of course any other manager would.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he not have a consistent starting 11? What's his thinking?
I don't know. I mean, he's been a little bit unlucky in terms of injuries and stuff. Midfield just hasn't clicked for whatever reason. And to be fair to Gary, I think the players that he relied on a lot last season have sort of let him down a little bit this year. we've got a lot of quality in terms of, depth players like Sarabia, who it's crazy to say he's sort of been sat on the bench. Tommy Doyle is a very good young player as well. They've been given a chance and taking it. But the other players that, you would sort of be relying on, it hasn't quite worked out. In terms of recruitment, maybe the recruitment and the transfer window, although we did bring the players in, probably not the profiles or the type of player that Gary wanted. I don't know. We signed some really exciting players that were in form last year, had a really good preseason, and they're barely getting a kick for whatever reason. So it's really, really strange. But yeah, and there's a lot of players in that Wolves squad. If we have a different head coach come in next week or after the international break, they're probably going to get a tune out of a lot more of those players. So I don't know, and that's why I think if he shuffles things a little bit for Saturday, it wouldn't surprise me. But ultimately, he needs to pick the 11 that's going to get him the best result, because I think come 7:30 on Saturday night, if Wolves go out of that game with a defeat, he's in big, big trouble, I think.
What about a draw?
I think a draw, he'd be okay. I think ultimately he needs to get 4 points out of the next two. When we play, obviously, then we play win the Southampton as well. He needs a minimum of 4 points. I still think after a draw, there'll be a lot of noise on social media about him losing his job, but I think he'll be okay with a draw personally.
Yeah, Southampton, they're a funny side. They try to play possession football, but you should be able to beat them from what I've seen of you so far this season. But your last game, you ended it strong against Brighton. Thank you for that. It could have gone wrong though. I don't know what the Brighton attacker done, or I think it was.
I don't know where the Wolves' defense was either, to be honest.
yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy end to the game, but it shows that they're still fighting belief from the players. It's not like they've fully given up. I haven't got that sense. Even against City, when I was watching that game, yes, you had to defend for large parts of the game, but it is against City. But they were all focused. You made it a massive struggle for City to beat you, and they beat you from a set piece in the 90th minute, in the last second of the game.
Yeah.
So, you have got that belief within the players from the outside looking in anyways. But just quickly, talking about belief, we've also had a similar situation with Glasner. The players haven't really given up. It's been tight games even before the Spurs game. And now the results have been working for us. What have we made of Palace so far this season?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I think, we spoke earlier on. I said I looked at some of your sort of fixtures and results as well. And I feel that Palace probably should be in a much higher position, or at least have more points on the board at this stage of the season. I haven't watched a huge amount. I watched that the game against Brentford towards the start of the season, and I think the Eze goal was, it's ridiculous that was ruled out. It's just poor officiating again, as we normally see in the Premier League still. But I just thought, even Brentford, I thought at the time, this is quite an underwhelming in terms of the quality that I was seeing. I thought this is quite underwhelming. Never crossed my mind that I thought either yourselves or Brentford would be in trouble, but I just thought, if this is the level, then Wolves should be absolutely fine this year. But ultimately, we've just not kicked on. I don't think Wolves have been awful, don't get me wrong, but for whatever reason, things just haven't gone our way. But I think, Palace, now they've got that first win under the belt. I'm hoping Saturday it's a bad day for you guys, but I think you've got more than enough quality, not to be in that position. And, even come January, if you still need recruits, hopefully for you guys, there's a little bit of money in the bank to bring those players in. But I've known, Glasner's a good manager. He wouldn't have had the run that he had with you guys at the end of the season if he wasn't. He wouldn't have won the trophies that he's won before if he wasn't as well. But yeah, I think you guys will be absolutely sound. I think it just needs to settle down a little bit and you should be okay.
Yeah. And we've got a few injury concerns, of course, ahead of this game. But that's with Eze and potentially Adam Walton. We'll see what happens with the situation. Of course, Glasner will speak on Friday. But I don't expect Eze right now, as of recording, to be available based on what he said after the game. It will be a miracle for me if he has a hamstring problem to be available after like 3 days, the Villa game. But looking at your team and some weaknesses, of course, defensively, you haven't been great. But how I expect Palace to line up is, with Mateta, Nketiah, and we should have Ismail Assar as the front three. And it'll be high pressing. That's what we spoke about on your channel as well. That's really what's worked for Palace so far. Are Wolves good with playing out from the back? Can you change it up? Because Spurs, they were very stubborn and it cost them. And also, we had the Villa game where, we won the ball high up the pitch for the second goal and we managed to score like that as well. So our press has been good.
Yeah, I mean, we that's how we tried to play, and at times it hasn't worked. And as you can imagine, as fans, sometimes you just want us to go direct, a little bit more old school. And Wolves, I think, have had to learn over the last few weeks that they've got to mix it up against City as well. You're not going to be able to play it across your back line and play it out of defence against City. It just doesn't work. A lot of it will depend on, I've praised the attackers, but sometimes their lack of runs or their runs in behind does frustrate me. Sometimes, especially with you guys, if you're playing wing backs, we win possession back quickly and you look to counter. If you could catch the wing backs out of play, and you've got almost a 3-on-3 situation, that's where Wolves can, punish Palace. But I don't know. It really depends on the day. In terms, we do try and play out the back. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we don't. And sometimes it does frustrate fans, and it can go wrong. But we've seemed to cope fairly well with that, to be honest. It's just, stupid mistakes normally on the break or poor positioning that really costs us in these sort of matches. But a lot of it will depend on if the midfield turn up. I think Tommy Doyle deserves to start, so I would say he starts alongside who I'm not too sure. I don't think he'll drop Lamina with him being the captain. So it depends if he plays like a 4-3-3, if he does go with a 4-2-3-1, if he plays the 5, I don't know. But yeah, playing out from the back, but with you saying that high press, it'll be interesting to see how Wolves can play out of that danger.
Yeah. Let's see if we can keep it up for 3 games, anyways, because it's worked well in the past 2 games. But with injuries, that might be a bit of a problem. As we played in a cup against Villa away from home, so we've got we played quite decent amount of games with high intensity. So let's see if we can keep it up. But let's talk about score predictions. For me, I think I'm going to go for 1-1. It's not the best result from a Palace perspective because we still want to get another win and build this on. We've got 2 wins now against 2 good sides, Spurs and Villa. And, we have got results at your ground before. And you've also, it's gone the other way as well. So it's not like we always get results at your ground. But I think we do have the chance if we turn up. I'm just worried about the injury. So I'm going to go for 1-0. But for you, surely you have to be back in your boys because if you don't win this,
yeah, it's easy to say I'm backing them, but it's just me knowing if we've got the qualities to do it. I think my heart is saying a 2-1 Wolves win, but my head is probably again backing a 1-1. I don't know. I really want them to prove me wrong, but it could be 1-1 or a goal either way. I think if you come out 2-1 winners, I think both teams will score regardless. But I think if you come out 2-1 winners, I won't be surprised. But it'll be so toxic at Molineux. It really will. If we don't start brightly, I think it'll be a difficult place to be on Saturday evening. I think the fans can and will turn quite quickly if things don't go to plan. So 1-1, I think, is a fair assumption, but a goal either side wouldn't surprise me either, to be fair.
Yeah, that's why we have to start strong. And last 2 games we have done. So let's see if we can continue in this game. But look, Dave, of course, we'll talk on the reverse fixture. And hopefully in the reverse fixture, we're both looking up the table rather than down.
I hope so, mate. I hope so.
Yeah, but if you do want to check out Talking Wolves, the link is in the description. I gave my perspective as a Palace fan, and also make sure to check out their content for the match reactions and match previews as well. Make sure to drop a like if you do enjoy the content and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And until next time, up the Palace.